This build has everything you want as a monk. It has insane damage both in AoE and for killing bosses in single target. I will teach you how to transition into this build without breaking your character, which can happen very easily. This build requires no unique and it's fairly easy to set up. Welcome to Goblin-Inc. I am Ace of Spades. So this build looks very fun, and I'm afraid a lot of people will try to switch to this build without having the requirements and break their character. So let's make sure that we know the requirements for the build before we switch into it. First of all, you're going to be needing to have the correct gems for them. Now, let's take a look at the gem required. So element, you go here and you check the COMET. As you can see, COMET is tier 11. You need COMET and you need Frostwall. After that, you're going to be needing also a buff gem, a spirit gem. And you're going to be needing cast on phrase. And you're also going to be needing to have 60 spirit, which means that you need to complete the first 3 acts, and then you can switch into this build when you have this stuff. 60 spirit, custom phrase, COMET, and Frostwall are the requirements for the build to work. After that, we're going to talk about the requirements in terms of talents, skill tree. So you're going to have quite a bit of money. It's kind of expensive, not my fault, unfortunately. The Soul Spring Eternal, 35% more energy is very important, and it's important to have I Am the Blizzard. So make sure to spec this. Then it's very important that we get to the point we can reach certain things. We're going to be able to skip some of this, and we need to get absolutely to dynamism, get the extra energy. We need to make sure that we get this, and this extra energy here. It is actually not important to get energized. In fact, it doesn't do anything for us, and I will explain why later. And it's super, super important to get thin ice, heavy frost, and harsh winter. As long as we have those things, it's fine. I also suggest the mana cost reduction is sweet. This build is gonna be a non-crit version, so no crits first, and then as you level up later, when you are more closer to like 55, like that, 50, 60, you'll be able to fully invest into crit and crit chance. And we discuss that later. In terms of gear requirements, make sure you save up gear for the build. You need to have a wand with freeze build up, or to have extra ranks to frost skills, but I prefer freeze build up because I don't want the mana cost of the skills to go too much higher, and the requirements of the build are going to become tougher to have. So in the beginning, I had 2 ranks of my skills. Now I removed 2 ranks for the cast speed and more energy shield. And this wand I had for since level 46. Freeze build up, super OP. The other things like cold damage, spell damage, and critical hit chance, mana generation are nice plus, but really not needed. As long as you have the freeze build up, it's fine. Let's talk about how the build plays. Mostly, people think that you freeze things with like Frostbolt or something else. But the reality, let's go here and show the gameplay, is that this is how you freeze enemies. Most enemies, most bosses, in fact, will explode those icicles by walking over them. Only 1 bosses or 2, I think, I've found that don't destroy the icicles, and one could phase through them. And for those, you're going to have to pop the icicles. I'm going to talk about that later. But mostly the way you play the game is just throw these on enemies that destroy them immediately, and they instantly explode. Something about their body type makes the icicle pop immediately, even without taking damage. We also play with hypothermia. This curse, we're going to be allowing to use the only on bosses. So pretty much the only thing I do while I play is just spam Frostball. If I want to pop them myself, I either cast another comment by myself, or I have another skill that can pop them in 1 hit, and we're gonna go over that for you guys if you don't want to play the comment like I do. It's also good to have 2 options for popping your crystals. So let's go and take a look at the gem. Custom phrase, and this is why it's so key to play invoker for this build, is because we can play without needing a support gem to increase the amount of energy we generate, because we already have that from the invoker. This means that the comment on custom phrase with spell echo, 1-time phrase, you proc 2 comment. Nice. After that, we're going to be getting Cold Master way later on when you get the 3 links. For my Frost Wall, super. I cannot stress enough how important Spell Cascade is. Without this, no go. Icicle to reduce the HP of the icicles, and Glaciation. You can also play Glaciation, especially during boss fights. It's fine to play Glaciation instead of Icicle, and it helps quite a bit with your freeze. If you want to run something to destroy the icicles by yourself or to get some extra damage on bosses, Frostbolt is what you're going to be able to get early game. Consider casting, and with Control Destruction, that's pretty swift. For my self-cast Comet, I have Concentrated Effect and I have Arcane Tempo because it's quite slow at casting. And the Concentrated Effect, I don't care that the area damage is high because I use this on bosses and I use this to destroy my icicles. So I just have to pop one to create a chain reaction. For the late game version of the build, I'm gonna play Eye of Winter. I'm gonna show you. Eye of Winter with Unleash, cast 3 times, and does quite a few things for the build. It allows you to go crit because it has critical weakness, so it increases the crit chance against enemies when you hit them 20 times, which is very easy because you have Unleash, and as you see, it's a million projectiles. That enables a really hard scaling of your crit chance really fast, and then you get to about 40-50% crit chance super easily, and that becomes really worth as a damage multiplier in that case. Before that, yes, we do have Hypothermia for the curse, so that we can reduce the resistances of our enemies, but another option, which also helps pop or icicles, would be another skill gem, which is Frostbomb. Frostbomb has exposure. Take a look. It adds cold exposure, which means that it reduces resistances of enemies even below 0, so can go even under 30 for cold damage. So that's really powerful thing to have. So what you can do is you can buff the damage of your Frost Bomb, and you can pop your Frost Wall, and then you can cast your Frost Bomb underneath your icicles and make them pop. And then at that point, later on in the game, you're gonna be able to add your crit. You get a ton of evasion from this build. So we go evasion, energy shield. We take all of it. We take some energy shield generation here in the beginning. It helps quite a bit to have a little bit of it. Our energy shield right now, it is about half of our HP, and it's very sweet to avoid getting one shot from bosses. We also usually have over 60% evasion, no problem. Mana cost reduction here, take the evasion, take the extra frost here, build up. Those nodes are actually quite nice because they both got the dexterity and intelligence, which we're gonna need for gear. We take dynamism, eventually you go for spectral ward, and eventually for shadow dancing. Damage reduction, quite nice, more crit, more freezing. And this one is really not useful because we generate 100% of our resources per freeze, meaning that the Energize doesn't do anything for us. So that one point here you can remove, you can test it. As long as you freeze and you proc your Comet right away, that's fine. Mental Clarity, the cast speed is quite nice, and the mana generation and intelligence really do help. More intelligence, and then eventually this build is gonna become a mind over matter build. And I'm gonna try to get the build to have the skill cost less than 3% of our maximum mana. And when that happens, well, or pretty much our triggers are also gonna be able to heal us. That will be the end game theory, and we're gonna see if we can make that happen. Probably gonna enchant my amulet so that I can get the mana cost reduction here. And then with that, I'll try to see if I can make that work. And maybe some other modify. We don't know the uniques, etc. for the build. Incredibly powerful build. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And for any question, you can come to my stream and read the guide that is down below, of course. For the gear, I'm gonna do a quick show. It's simply evasion, energy shield. A lot of stats on my gear. Don't be afraid to put intelligence, dexterity on your ring to make the build work. Eventually, in Cruel, you get 40 more spirit, and with spirit on my amulet, I got another cast on frost on freeze, but it's really overkill and really not necessary. And my belt. GG's.